I look serious because I'm doing stuff. All right, I think we are live. So, welcome everybody to the Casuals MMA or the Casuals MMA podcast. You can join us most places podcasts are found: Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartMedia, Podbean, and YouTube. If you haven't yet, follow us on our Facebook page and Instagram account for your daily MMA updates. Find links and information in the details, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Casuals MMA. We're pretty much everywhere. If you just type in the Casuals MMA and look for our nice little logo that's in the top right-hand corner. Hopefully it's on the right on your side too. The Casuals MMA is part of the FanStream Sports podcast family featuring the JP Show, which airs live from 3 to 6 p.m. weekdays on 8:20 a.m., 98.3 FM, and 96.7 FM. I believe that's in Pinellas up there in the Tampa area. Make sure to visit fanstreamsports.com and also download the app on Android and Apple. They have a lot of great shows from the JP Show. As I just mentioned, Sports Caffeine, Loose Cannons podcast, On the Clock, and our newest show, part of the family, Beauty and the Cleats. So with that said, Dan, welcome back to the show, my brother. How you doing?
Oh, I'm excited, man. We got a good couple of weeks coming up, and I even think the end of the year is rounding off to be a good one and a banger. So I'm excited, and then we even have some potential big fights coming up in the new year. So I'm excited, man. UFC is still blowing up, even though now all sports are on. So I'm excited, man, to talk about what we got coming up in the next couple of weeks and beginning of next year.
Yeah, we got a few things to catch up on too. I think we haven't had a podcast, I think, since the last pay-per-view. So we got a few fights to catch up on from the last few weeks. A lot of exciting stuff. I mean, we go back and we talk about Holm versus Aldana. That was a great showing by Holmes. She continues to show that she's evolving in the sport of MMA. Anytime Aldana showed that she had a few right hands to give her, Holly Holm wasn't afraid to take her down. And she even got a mount, I think once or twice, and flashed some of the submission game there, even though it ended up going to decision. But still, it's just nice to see that she's adapting to the sport still, even when I think she's 38 years old right now. And she's still adjusting and getting away just from her kickboxing and getting into, taking advantage of the full facet of what MMA entails. So it's exciting to see her still evolve. And man, she's probably got one more title run in her at this point.
Yeah, and I think that was like the notion and the feeling coming into it that, if she didn't put on the showcase that she did, whether she won or lost, I felt like a lot of, people were betting against her. I felt like the UFC maybe have turned their back on her if she didn't put on a performance. Somewhat like similar like what they do to Curtis Blades each time he gets into the ring, or when what's the other one that Dana White always got mad at when he didn't put on a show, Woodley. So I think she really showed up and showed out. She really put on a clinic with her boxing. She looked amazing. She really used the octagon to her advantage. I was really impressed with that fight. I actually
does she ever not use the full octagon? Does she ever not use, actually, I thought it was pretty funny. I forgot who was announcing or calling that fight, but they were like they wanted to put a odometer or whatever pedometer on Holly Holmes to see like how far she runs in a matter of like 25 minutes, like as she goes around the circle. She uses her distance. She doesn't run away from the fights, but she uses her distance, and she uses like these quick sprints to use like her combos and stuff like that to get in and out of range. But that would be pretty interesting. And then you go find out she's running like a marathon in a matter of 25 minutes. Impossible, I know, but still, I digress. So, but
I digress.
That was exciting. That was certainly entertaining. Like I said, it's always good to see Holly Holm. I was excited to see that. It was a little disappointing on Irene Aldana's side, just to not. She really got outstruck. I mean, I think let me pull up those stats real quick, because it was very one-sided, obviously, for Holmes as far as like the striking advantage. Yeah, just overall, looking at the total strike count was 154 to 69 in favor of Holmes, obviously. And the difference too with that is the significant strike percentage and the landed shots, where Holly Holmes looking at 51% of her punches landed to Aldana's 37%. So she completely got outstruck in that fight. And to think too that Holly Holmes also used, again, her grappling and stuff like that she's really brought into her game. So it was a great showing for her all around.
Yeah, I mean, Aldana in this one had everything to prove, nothing to really lose. This was her biggest fight yet. I wasn't expecting her to come in and pull off a knockout, especially after watching her last fight. Like, it took her a while, and she only clipped that other chick. She wasn't winning that fight either. So for me, I wasn't really worried about whatever she brought to the fight. I was really, watching Holmes and where she was going to go, and she showed me up, man.
Yeah.
So good for
So
her.
cool, man. All right, let's move on to this past weekend's event. Oh, actually, and the other thing, it was nice to see Carlos Condit get back in the win column against Court McGee.
He looked great,
Yeah.
actually. Now that you bring that
Court
up, I
McGee's
forgot
always
it.
been kind of a goofy fighter, you know what I mean? Like Carlos Condit was definitely the better athlete coming into that fight, but it was just nice to see him pick up a win. So he's definitely not the same guy that went for the title run previously.
No, but he looked good, man.
Yeah, but this past weekend we had Marlon Moraes versus Corey Sandhagen.
What an
Sandhagen
upset.
gets the knockout on a spinning heel kick to the face. But that's not even the biggest news story from this past weekend. Do you know what I'm
No, it is
alluding to?
not. Absolutely. I was the one that put it in front of you, my man. You were out sleeping while I was watching the
I
fights this
wasn't
past
sleeping. I
weekend.
was watching my Miami Hurricanes get rolled over by
Oh,
Clemson. That's
God.
where I was. So I
I
wasn't
probably would
watching.
have left it with the sleeping comment.
No, I'm with my team through the ups and downs. So we got creamed this past weekend. Hey, by the best team in the country. So, but yeah, so Jacqueline Buckley really made like every ESPN highlight over the weekend, and still I think on everybody's social media pages with that insane tornado kick to the face of his opponent Impa. With the straight leg knockout. That's one of the nastier knockouts that you'll ever see, where your opponent just goes completely dead leg and stiff as a board and just falls back. It was ridiculous. So if you didn't see it, you definitely got to check this one out.
So my
This is
question to
one.
you, because a lot of people were raising it, do you think that this was the best knockout in UFC history? I say no. I still don't think it overcomes the Jorge Masvidal knockout over Ben Askren.
Yeah,
That one still takes the
yeah,
top for me, just
yeah.
because of how much went into that fight. Amping it up and all the shit talking. But I mean, this one. I mean, as far as technicality, I think it was the nicest knockout I've ever seen, the cleanest. It was It was insane.
Yeah,
But
but
I don't think it
people
was the
also forget
best.
Edson Barbosa's wheel
Oh,
kick against Terry Edom too. I mean, hey, look, the difference I would say between Masvidal's knockout and Joaquin's knockout from this past weekend was the timing of it, where Joaquin's was totally reactional, right? Like he gets his kick caught, so he's standing on one foot, and then he does the nice twist immediately, and not to mention the placement was perfect. I mean, where he
yeah.
landed his heel to the chin was absolutely perfect. That's how he got that beautiful knockout. Whereas you think about Masvidal, that was game planned. He was practicing that. There's videos of him practicing that before the fight because he knew Ben Askren was going to come running across that cage and try and take him down right away. So there's beauty in both of them, but they're also different too when you consider that aspect.
Yeah, no, I don't know where he goes from here. I mean, it was a highlight reel kick, but I don't know what's next for him. I don't even think he's in the top 20, so maybe a top 20
No,
guy for Buckley.
he's fresh into the UFC. So I
Yeah.
mean, he was on the prelims, which again, this is why I always emphasize to watch the prelims because you just never know what's going to happen down there.
I know you never. It's like a box of chocolates, like Forrest Gump said. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got a pretty decent record at 11-3. So Impa was actually the one that came in with the undefeated record. He was 8-0 coming into that fight. So, and the crazy thing is, think about that. This prelim knockout completely overshadowed Corey Sandhagen's knockout of Marlon Moraes.
Yeah, but Marlon. Yeah, but the thing is, it did for sure. I mean, even Kanye West came out with it. Released a new track with the kickoff of Buckley's, spinning heel kick, and him also talking about his presidency in 2024, which is a fucking joke. Uh, but yeah, man, it definitely got the highlight news. But either which way, I don't think the clout for what's coming next is bigger than what's supposed to or will come for Sandhagen. I think he really fucking put himself on the map after this fight, especially with that knockout against a real true veteran and a tough guy. So what do you think's next for him?
I don't know, but just like kind of going off of what you said too. I mean, Marlon's no walk in the park, and usually guys have to wear him down or let him get wore down before they before they can beat him up. He was still fresh. I mean, that was really only into the second round that he was able to land that sweet kick and then follow up with some combination against the cage. When Marlon was on his back and finish him with some shots. I mean, that was a damn impressive fight for him too. He used his reach, he used his length, he stayed at bay. He didn't let Marlon get off too many of those power shots. It was impressive, man. I mean, you know what? For both these guys too, looking at the bantamweight division, there's plenty of guys in the top. Like, I don't think either guy's fought Cody Garbrandt, Frankie Edgar. I think they've fought Pedro Munoz, so at least one of them has. Jose Aldo hasn't fought any of these guys, so there's still some guys in like that top 8 that either one could fight.
Yeah,
Technically,
I think he actually called out Edgar and Cody Garbrandt as like a next opponent,
who
or he
Marlon
want
or
no
Sandhagen?
Sandhagen, or
Yeah,
he wanted to go right for the winner of Aljamain and Peter Yan, which we'll get into later.
yeah,
And I honestly don't see that there's not an argument for it, because in this fight, it wasn't like it was just like he caught him with a kick. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he still got to work on it. No, like he was fucking him up that entire first round. Like he was
yeah.
just a better boxer. He was a lot more agile in there. I just felt like Marias. I don't even think if he were to get later into the second round would have figured out Sandhagen. He just looked absolutely amazing. And I think, a lot of credit was due when they were talking about it. The commentators, is that he went to an MMA, like a psychologist, to kind of help him understand how to understand his pace and not to kind of over explode or overwork himself. So it really puts him in a sense to kind of stay poised, stay controlled of his feelings and his thoughts. And I think it really showed off in this fight. And they called it like early into the fight, and just watching and how he flowed after that comment, it stood true. Like he really made the right investments in himself to get some big shout outs coming up after this win.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I don't think like he's deserving of the Aljamain Yan winner right away, only because I mean he got finished by Aljamain. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to me, you definitely have to win at least one more fight. People will argue
Yeah, but who's
different.
that going to be? Cody Garbrandt was moving down, and then he tore his bicep. I mean, Frankie Edgar. I mean, is
Yeah.
that really the next guy to say that he goes next? I don't really
Well,
think
Frankie
so.
Edgar's coming off a win, man. Frankie Edgar's got one more title run in him. I
Well,
mean,
then I guess I could see that.
to me, that's probably a good matchup. I say that's probably a good matchup for him to sit and wait because he should win that Frankie Edgar fight. So
Well, I
that
mean, it
would
would be a good testament to his defense, which he would definitely need to show. Because Frankie Edgar, you know what I mean? If he can't get into that reach, he's definitely going to take you down and try and pound you out or submit you or something. So if he could withstand that, I think we got ourselves a contender for the championship.
Yeah, yeah. And the timing would work out too. Like since he just won this past weekend, if he can get one more fight before the end of the year, because the Peter Yan Aljamain Sterling fight isn't until December. So he
The
could
19th.
ideally fight Frankie Edgar maybe before the end of the year because he's that's not going to be a headliner fight. So he could fight him one more time before the end of the year. Ideally, he wins. That sets him up for the winner of that title fight going into 2021 sometime in Q1 of next year. So I think the timing for that would be perfect, quite honestly.
Yeah,
So,
I could agree.
but hey, what can I say? I'm not the UFC matchmaker. What do I know?
So like fucking Dana.
Edson Barboza looked freaking amazing. Got his first win in the featherweight division.
I was surprised after all his bitching wanting to fucking, get signed off of the UFC that, he puts that much time and effort into, pulling this one out in the fashion that he did.
Well, I mean, he just outstruck his opponent. Makwan actually asked for this fight, which is good for him, and he looks good too. But Edson's just he's a next level striker. If you can't take him down, most guys are not going to win the stand up battle with him. So I mean, even his first loss in the featherweight division was against Dan Ige, and that was a pure stand up fight. Everybody thought Edson won, except for the judges, obviously, who gave it to Dan Ige, but it was nice to see him come away with a win here. Ben Rothwell and Marcin Tybura, two heavyweights, also scrapped on this card. It was nice to see, nice to see that fight. This is what you talk about. Like you just like watching two big, ugly heavyweights fight.
Yes, but scrap is an understatement.
Yeah.
I think I was telling you when I talked to you about a post fight, man. I think Ben Rothwell in the first fucking round threw like 165 punches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were just beating the shit out of each other. It was just an absolute fucking slugfest. I enjoyed that fight, man, because it ended with a bang. It wasn't like they tired out and it was just kind of sluggish. Like that's when what was his name? Marcin Tybura just threw on the goddamn heat and he just busted Ben Rothwell up in the third round. So it was a great fight from beginning to end.
Yeah, it was entertaining. Like it definitely makes you wish. I mean, there's such a huge gap between like the top of the heavyweight division and like everybody else. When you look at the athleticism of guys like Rothwell and Tybura, versus like the athleticism of the guys at the top of the division. It's it's the big uglies versus the more athletic guys. So that was just a fun reminder of the difference in the heavyweight division. But hey, you know what? We always say it. There's nothing more fun than just watching some big heavy dudes just throw hands, and that's exactly what those two did on Saturday night. So, any other questions, concerns, thoughts, comments from
No,
any of the fights
well,
in the last
actually,
two weekends?
now that I think about it, I'm looking at it. Palesi, man, the way he came into that fight against Marcus Perez. He looked so scared. I could not believe when he won that fight. I just think he just threw his hands just to throw them and caught Perez with the right punch. But good for him. That was a pretty exciting KO fight if nobody caught it. And plus, that was his debut.
Yeah.
But he looked he definitely had the jitters in that fight.
Yeah. Dude, they've been on Fight Island for well over a month now at this point, right?
It's supposed to be 5 weeks. It's supposed to be 5 or 6 weeks.
That's a long time, but hey, you know what? They're getting their money's worth. I don't blame them.
Shit.
And it's a way to inject new blood into the UFC too. You have all those international fighters that you can bring
and they've been looking good, man.
Mm-hmm.
On the Holmes fight, that kid from Britain, what the hell was his name? Was it on that fight? Hold on one second.
I don't know. That depends on which one you're referring to.
I'll figure it out in a second.
All right. Well, while you do that, let's just catch up on some other the fun stuff that's been going on in the UFC. What's that?
No worries. There's been a lot of shit going on.
Dude, let's start with the hot stuff. Let's start with the big stuff. Everybody loves the name McGregor. Every time that he even has an inkling of an idea that he's going to fight and he releases it, like everybody just goes crazy. I don't even know. Did you ever hear about what happened with the Pacquiao fight? Is that still on, or did that end up falling through?
No. So just I believe yesterday or today, it's supposed to be he'll take on Dustin Poirier, but he wants it to be before the end of the year so that he knows he has enough time, I believe, to kick off Q1 facing Pacquiao. Pacquiao came out with a new statement, not declining that it will happen, but not, kind of showing signs that he's not really in the knowing of what it will be, or when the fight will go on, but it will happen in the Middle East. But I could care less about that fight. That's just a money fight.
Yeah, but I don't know if you saw, but Dana White's only offering Conor McGregor the fight in late January now. He said this is the only one that you have. Like, take it or leave it. I don't know if Uncle Dana's a little pissed at Conor because he released some text messages between the two, because everybody says that Conor doesn't want to fight, but Conor ended up showing some text messages between him and Dana from last year when he was trying to get some fights. I think he was like trying to ask for like Justin Gaethje, and just like he was asking for like open fight cards. The ridiculous one was he said, "Yeah, I'll fight Diego Sanchez," and Dana White was like, "We should lose our promoter's license." Get that one. I was like, "Yes, you should." There is no reason Conor McGregor should be fighting Diego Sanchez. That's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, that's it. That's interesting. I guess maybe because the Pacquiao fight doesn't have an official date, maybe that's why he's more flexible with the Dustin Poirier fight.
Yeah, but didn't you make a comment before we kicked off that he was talking about wanting to do the fight at what stadium was it? Did you say?
That would be for January too, at the Cowboys Stadium in Texas.
Oof, that'd be outrageous.
He says he wants to fill it. He says he's boys with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is a friend that they can make it happen between the two.
He would easily fill that stadium up, no questions asked.
Oh yeah, for sure. Conor McGregor, absolutely, and Dustin Poirier has become a star within the UFC himself since he's gone to the lightweight division, found a lot of success. So I definitely think so. Anytime McGregor's on a fight card, a headline a fight card, people will freaking show up for that.
Yeah, and I think also he's making some pretty good dividends quarter over quarter with his Proper 12 that he just went and got endorsed and purchased himself a Lamborghini yacht. I was actually taking a look at the pictures on the internet. You have to see this damn thing, dude. It is unreal.
Do you have it up on the computer?
No, I don't.
Oh my God. What does a Lamborghini yacht even look like? I have to look this up.
It literally looks like a Lamborghini plus what somebody's house looks like that owns a Lamborghini, and then where somebody goes to eat that has a Lamborghini all in one fucking place. Because you look on the deck, there's
Look,
like this fancy ass, beautiful table. Then there's this huge master bedroom.
is this what we're looking at?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was the green one, and it is
It
just.
would be the green one for him.
Hey
Jesus,
man,
dude.
proper 12, baby.
I
Cash
thought
rules
the dude
everything.
already had a yacht, but now he's got to upgrade and get a Lamborghini yacht. My God, this thing is nuts. Look at that. It doesn't even look like a boat on the inside.
Yeah, no, but his one is like upgraded. Like
Oh, I'm
he
sure it
posted,
would be.
he posted some of the pictures on his Instagram, and it just looked outrageous.
Dude, this thing still looks outrageous. Even if you don't consider this upgraded, this is outrageous right here. This is insane. All right, wow. Conor McGregor living in a life that the rest of us can only imagine, I suppose.
Yeah. Yesterday he was sticking his dick in girls' faces in the middle of France, and today he's fucking buying a yacht.
He does whatever he wants. But yeah, no, he said Dana White announced officially. He said, "Hey, look, if you want a card, we have the rest of this year booked out. 123. That's the first time we can give you your own card that you can headline." He said he went to, which I almost wonder. There's no way that's going to be a free card because he said he went to ESPN to ask him, but I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's insinuating that's a free card. There's no way that that's going to be a free card, but
No, they
and it
would
might be
never
at
do
Cowboy
that.
Stadium. We don't know. The Cowboys aren't playing there right now, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah, but I don't know. For me, it's just a lot of smoke, man. You know, that cowboy fight for me was just bullshit. You know, and then him talking about he's coming out for a season. Yeah, don't get me wrong, COVID took place, but come on, man, you could have fights are still fucking going on.
He
And
asked for
I
fights, though. That's the whole point, though. He did say he asked for fights. The issue was that they couldn't figure out one. And then he ended up taking, I think, the summer off. I think he had a family member, an aunt maybe, pass away from COVID or something. So he was kind of pulling back. But whatever. It's Conor McGregor. There'll always be something. It's like our president. They always say
yeah.
something on Twitter
And
to
in
get everybody
addition
riled
to
up.
that, with Connor, I think Khabib, he had a pretty extensive, and that will probably segue into the next conversation. He had a pretty good conversation, you know, in his ramp up for Justin Gaethje, and he cleared a lot of the news and air. He said he wouldn't give a rematch to Connor. Most likely, he'll retire after this fight. He even had the
No, he has
balls,
one more fight left in him after
you
this.
know. He even had the balls to say that he thinks Tony Ferguson will lose his next fight because of the ass whooping he took from Gaethje. And you know, so with those, you know, a couple of statements, I was really shocked that, you know, he would say such a thing about Ferguson, and that, you know, he clearly stated like, look, I already whooped his ass. I won't give him a rematch no matter what he does to get here.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised at him and his statements. And he didn't
I'm
really
not.
say anything
I
about.
think that was a real assessment. I don't think he was trying to like do the crap talking or anything. I think he was just like he took a legitimate beating in his last fight. He's going to fight another top contender in lightweight before the end of the year. That might even be too soon. I think that's kind of what Khabib was alluding to. Not like, oh, now all of a sudden Tony Ferguson's a terrible fighter. He was saying I'm insinuating by just like, you know, his past interviews and all this stuff that he was kind of saying like, dude took way too hard a beating. He got hit in the face way too many damn times. He is not, you know, he's not going to be himself next time he fights.
Yeah, and I mean, I was joking with you the other day, but it's true. Like every time you've called it, you know, or any time we've seen a fight where somebody just got their ass beat so bad, like they didn't have the right headspace. They didn't let their brain heal or what have you to be prepared for a, you know, another top fight like that. I mean, you saw it with. I mean, we haven't seen it with Ferguson, but you saw it firsthand with, you know, Stipe coming off that fight with Ngannou going against DC, and he just got clipped. You know,
Yeah.
in the next two fights, he had so much time in between, and he looked good. So he may be right, but I don't know, man. El Kukui for me is still a beast, and we'll see. It depends on who he fights. I mean, I don't even know who he could fight at this point.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't fought too consistently in the last few years, so I'm sure there's plenty of top lightweight contenders that he can get matched up against, but either way, we'll figure it out. In the meantime, talking about people that are active, Neil Magny offered to threw his hat in the ring to fight Khamzat Chimaev. If you don't know him, get to know him. Chimaev is insane. He has been a rising star. Speaking of like some of these stars that have popped up since the whole Fight Island thing, Chimaev's one of those dudes. So he was originally talking about fighting Wonder Boy, or who was the other guy that he was talking
Chiesa.
about? Oh, Michael Chiesa. Oh, that would have been a good matchup. That
I
sucks.
think either one would have been a good matchup.
Yeah, well, I don't want to see the Wonder Boy. I understand why Wonder Boy doesn't want to fight Chimaev yet. Like maybe when he wins a few more and bolsters like his stock, which is crazy to say, but Stephen Thompson fights top welterweights. You know what I mean? He fights top 5, top 6 guys. He doesn't want to fight an upcomer, right? So I don't blame him. Michael Chiesa would have been a good fight. But either way, Neil Magny threw his hat in. He said, I want to fight. He's like, I got one more in me before the end of the year. Throw me in there. That would be a great scrap. And it would be a great spot to see where Khamzat really is. Like, is he legit? Is he going to shoot himself up into the welterweight division? And the same thing with Neil Magny. Neil Magny, we've talked about it. He keeps on improving. It seems like even as long as he's already been in the UFC, as many fights as he has, he still seems like he's getting better. So
yeah, honestly,
great.
I think that would be a huge bet on Chimaev to take on Neil Magny on the streak that he's on, and specifically because of just how well rounded he is. If he could come out of that fight, man, I will definitely say at that point he is nobody to fuck with if he takes out Neil Magny. Because Neil Magny has looked great. What is it? 4 fights this year he threw down on?
Yeah.
And I mean, he just looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah. That'd be a fun fight period. So I definitely want to watch it. But we'll see if that ends up happening. But let's kind of move on. Looking at this weekend, we got another free card. Man, the UFC is giving us like a month and a half of free cards. It's been insane. And they've been good matchups too. So this weekend, of course, back in Fight Island again, we have Brian Ortega versus Chan Sung Jung. This one has been on the docket for a while. The Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega. This one's going to be fun to freaking watch. I can't wait. This is going to be a barn burner. This is like one of those, you could throw it on any card, and it's like that's potential fight of the night right there.
Oh, for sure, it's going to be fight of the night. I mean, if you just look at each one of their last fights, you put Ortega against Max Holloway, that was a fucking banger classic, and then you had Korean Zombie against Yair Rodriguez, which was just an upset for Zombie, but what a fucking banger, man. So I can only imagine what this fight's going to end up looking like between the two of them. They're both skilled in striking, in submissions, so it is just going to be a back and forth. But I honestly, for some reason, I really hope it's not a stand and banger fight. Like, I would like to see how they transition on the ground. I would like to definitely see some grappling take place in this fight because they're both so amazing.
Oh yeah, and the grappling. Oh, that's where both of them are like have the strongest points is on the ground. So that would definitely. I think you're right though. That would be very entertaining to watch that because you know what? I don't think those guys would go slow on the ground like that.
Mm-mm.
That would be a fast paced grappling match. Probably see a lot of transitions, a lot of weird, crazy submission attempts. I would definitely love to see that get taken to the ground. Hey, you know what? When you have a 5-round barn burner like that, though, you can get
and
the
it's
best
a 5-rounder, boy. Get ready.
You can get the best of both worlds. You can get the stand-up game for a few rounds, and you can get the jiu-jitsu for a few rounds. So hopefully we'll see the best of both worlds. I think really the only other big, like, notable fight on this one
is the co-main event. So we got Long Island's best is Chukagian against Andrade. Both coming off of losses, but we'll see. I feel like Chukagian's probably going to use her distance and boxing, and but then again, Andrade, she could just catch you with that one hit, and it's lights out, baby.
Pick you up, put you down on your head, baby. So there's like Jimmy Crutes in this one, so he's a rising star. You have a lot of like you have some good fighters in here, but I don't think any household names just yet. So
well, pay attention to that undercard. Yep. You got a Nurmagomedov on there as well. So
yep, all the time. So, but I think other than that, I think we've touched on pretty much most of the big news around the UFC. Am I right?
Yeah.
So we got a few fights coming up in the next few weeks. We have UFC 254 next week, and that's a big one. That's Khabib versus Justin Gaethje, Robert Whittaker versus Jared Cannonier. I think that should be a fun fight. Alexander Volkov, Walt Harris. We have a ton of fights on here. I think you said Rafael Dos Anjos fell out of that fight, right?
Yeah, he ended up getting COVID. I think the week before, having to go to Vegas.
Oh, speaking of catching COVID, Ion Kutalaba and Magomed Ankalaev are once again matched up on this freaking card. This
I
is
thought you were gonna say they got
time.
sick. I was like, please no.
This is the fifth time. It's either the fourth or fifth time in the last 3 months, I think, that they've tried to match this up. Kutalaba keeps freaking testing positive for COVID. It's like, bro, just freaking wait. They tried to put him on in like 3 weeks in a row over the summer, and then they tried one random time back in like August or September. And now they finally got it. So fingers crossed, maybe he might make it to this one. I hope so for his own health. But this is a loaded freaking card next weekend. We won't really dive into that because we'll have a whole show next week about it. But a ton of stuff. We still have Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva on Halloween night, October 31st. That one should be fun. That's supposed to be Silva's retirement fight. Santos versus Teixeira at the light heavyweight. That should be a fun one too. That'll be the week after. So
somebody's getting knocked out in the first 2 rounds
of Santos versus Teixeira.
Yeah, power, and then you got Teixeira. This last run.
You know what I mean? A little bit there, Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead and say that again.
Yeah, no, what I was saying is Santos is just going to be throwing bombs after his loss and his immense time off after Jones. So he's going to be coming in swinging for the fences. And I just feel like Teixeira's just always got something to prove against a big guy like this, and he's going to come swinging too. So I feel like somebody's going to get clipped.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. But a lot of fun stuff going on. I think that's pretty much it for our show. We've really caught up on most of the big news around the UFC. I feel like it's been a little slow. I mean, there's always stuff that goes on. Usually news doesn't start to bump up until like around the bigger pay-per-views. And then, when you start coming to the end of the year and the mid-year terms, that's usually seems like to be the big times that the UFC just unleashes like their game plan going forward. So,
well, because December is their biggest month of the year, December. And I think August, right? Like December and August, I feel
usually like July. They usually do a big 4th of July.
Oh yeah, the fight week.
Yeah. They'll do big like international fight week in July, and they'll usually have a big card. But I feel like the last few years they've done a good job of having like one big card every quarter of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially since they've been on ESPN, they line up some good fights on these free cards. So we were talking, kind of alluding to the fact that they've done a ton of free cards. It's actually because they fell behind. They haven't with their agreement with ESPN includes that they have to air a certain amount of fights every year that are free, that are on ESPN Plus. So not just the pay-per-views, which are also on ESPN Plus. I don't even want to get into that right now, but yeah, so they actually have had to catch up. That's why they're throwing together these cards so last minute, and they're just getting everybody and anybody that's willing to sign a UFC contract overseas to come in and fight us, because they're just trying to meet a number. I forget what that number is. I don't know if it's like 30 events or something like that. I forgot how.
I don't know the number. I don't think we've ever looked it up or pulled it up. I know you mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah. I've looked over the contract, like the original agreement between ESPN and the UFC. I forget what it was. It was like, I think honestly, it was like 30 to 40 events a year. And I think like 25 to 30 of those had to be free events. They wrote it down like it's very specific, but I'm just going off of memory right now. So they're just catching up. I mean, you figure a few months since the pandemic hit, and they're just trying to catch up. Not to mention they're trying to keep their parent company afloat. We talked about that a little bit earlier this year too. So,
but one thing that I did forget to mention in the news, he's getting a lot of smoke, is the Diaz brothers hopefully coming back. I know Dan Hooker was calling out Nate Diaz, and they're looking to try and bang in the new year. So we'll see. Because I mean, you were saying, I think it was our last conversation, that Diaz was in the process of going to the USDA, working out, making sure that he can cut weight and all that kind of stuff, go testing. So we may get a Diaz banger next year.
Yeah. Nick's talking about making a comeback. I think that's a terrible decision for him. And Nate's not looked like him. So I don't know. He got creamed in his last fight against Masvidal. You really want to come back and into the welterweight division? It sounds like Nate can't even cut down to 155 anymore. You really want to fight in the welterweight division, dude?
Yeah, he said he wants to meet at 165.
Oh, with Conor McGregor. I'm sure he'll still get that. They'll still get that third fight. I don't know why he's always just trying to make news. They like the Diaz brothers like attention too, as much as they might say, "Oh, Connor does." The Diaz brothers like attention too, so don't get it twisted.
Hey, well,
So, cool. I think that's it for us, my man. Anything else you want to add?
No, that was it.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. We're going to be live next Tuesday. Tuesday's kind of our new night to kind of give everybody that listens to the recording after we record and all that stuff some time before the weekend. But we'll come back next week and we're going to talk UFC 254 again. That's Gaethje versus Khabib. We're also going to give you our draft picks, our fantasy draft picks. Tune in because I'm killing it right now. I can make you money, baby. Just tune in. I think my last few, I've absolutely crushed my DraftKings lineup.
Well, I know the last
I don't put big money.
pay-per-view. I think you got every. I think you called every fight.
I did 6 for 6, and you know what sucks about that? I forgot to hit submit on my DraftKings lineup card. Yep, I forgot to hit freaking.
Dude, don't they teach you that at work? Double, triple check your shit.
Because so this is what happened, right? Like ever since the Ion Cutelaba fight, so I did have one card that I just picked really bad, but it was because the card fell apart. Like one of my fighters dropped out, the other one missed weight, and then he had to cut weight for an extra like 2-3 hours afterwards, and he looked absolutely sluggish in that fight. So it was just like 3 or 4 of my fights got messed up. So I was like, you know what? I'm waiting until the weigh-ins. Like I have a new rule of thumb. Wait till the end of weigh-ins, see who comes through, who does not test positive for COVID, and to make sure everybody makes weight.
Oh, that's right. You did make that comment.
And then I completely forgot to do it on Saturday. So
Kids
I was
these
like,
days.
But either way, listen to me. I make you people money. Tune in. We're going to have fun next week talking, and then we'll kind of look forward towards the end of the year now that we're in Q4. So otherwise, everybody, thank you for joining in. Appreciate the love and appreciation. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all those places at the Casuals MMA. You can see our nice little logo up here in the top right-hand corner. As long as that's not flipped for you guys, it's on the top right-hand corner for me. So tune in, listen, follow us everywhere that you can, and get your MMA news when you need it. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Peace.